Okay, chat. So every once in a while, I'll click on my comments section, and just whenever I'm bored, I'll look in my comments, and I'll go through them, and I'll look at the ones that have actually been published, and I'll look through the ones that are held for review or held for likely being spam. And usually the ones that are held for review are from Nazis, like calling me the N-word and stuff like that. So it's usually a heap of content. Also, I apologize, my roommate is doing dishes in the other room, and it's very loud.
Comrade Courtney gave Void a tier 1 subscription.
Thank you, Comrade Courtney, I appreciate it. I will be studying to you, shitlib commentary, so here's my coin in advance. Thank you, Comrade Courtney. Hopefully you enjoy the study. Let's get into the memes. So, usually when I go into the held for review comments on my channel, I get a lot of really, really dumb reactionary comments. And yesterday, I was looking through my held for review comments, and I found this. And holy shit, is it fucking content. So Prager Uwu, who probably has the most amazing name in the universe, commented on my video about Blair White getting triggered about drag queens teaching kids about gender. They said, God, I wish LGBTQ plus people were anywhere near as accepted as Blair thinks. Also, she would hate Steven Universe Lamau. Imagine thinking non-binary people are inappropriate for kids. And this person comments, who is named Legal Fiction Natural Fact, comments, study some science, dumbass, and then linked a video. Interesting. Now this got my attention. This really caught my eye. So I opened up the link.
Now I consider myself
Now allow me to pause the video.
But when I see child abuse.
Oof. Can you pause, please? Thank you.
Now I consider myself.
Oh, holy shit, my Google is going off today. So take a look at that title right there. Transgender toddlers and their degenerate criminal parents. And if we go ahead and look at this playlist, it's by Unity Valkyrie Mitford. It's Trans Mental Issues and the Transgender Agenda is the name of this playlist. Most of the videos are privated or deleted, surprisingly enough, along with some other questionable ones that have yet to be deleted. You know, Gavin McInnes here, a literal Nazi. So, content is what I thought. And content is what this is.
Comrade Courtney gave Thanks Obama a tier 1 subscription.
Okay, so I saw this person's name and I couldn't not gift them a sub, so enjoy the dicks, comrade. Thank you very much, Comrade Courtney. I appreciate it. So, my internet is very shit today. It's very possible this is going to buffer an absolute fuck ton. Either way, though, we're going to get into this video. Because transphobia is inherently unscientific. The medical consensus in the scientific community for a while has been that transgender people are valid, that gender dysphoria is real, gender is a social construct, transitioning is the treatment for gender dysphoria, and is what trans people should do. That is the treatment. So to be transphobic in this day and age, with as many resources and as much information you have at your fingertips, tells me that you're either dishonest or incredibly stupid and disinterested in actually learning anything about this topic. But assuming anybody is watching this video right now that isn't bought in on the whole trans thing, let's watch this video. I will be sure to substantiate my claims quite thoroughly, and let's get into it.
Now I consider myself a social libertarian, but when I see child abuse and neglect, it really pisses me off. There are certain things we should be triggered by, and this is...
Okay. So already from the start, I'm going to be real with you. Every time I hear somebody say, okay, hold on, I'm calling bullshit already, actually. I'm a social libertarian. Degeneracy. Okay, dude. Let's be fucking... Hold on. Let's look at this guy's channel really fast. I want to see what kind of videos this guy likes to make. Bernie Sanders not an anti-establishment candidate. Mainstream media admits coronavirus is a bioweapon. Coronavirus update. It's way worse than they're telling us. Why endorse Bernie Sanders for president for some reason after that? Cool. The big pharma machine nearly killed Jordan Peterson. Okay, yeah, I think this guy might be fucking insane. Just throwing that out there. This guy might be fucking insane. But yes, let's hear about how this guy that calls people degenerate is a social libertarian. Let's get into it. And let's hear how it's actually, and let's find out how this is actually child abuse. All right, because every single example I have heard, every story that a reactionary brings up of parents forcing their children to be trans, when you actually do even the slightest amount of research past a Breitbart or Daily Wire article, it turns out there's a lot more to it than that, and it's not as simple as, oh, parents forcing their kids to be trans. In reality, there's the child is seeing medical professionals. They've been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Maybe at some point they'll be getting hormone blockers. It's never like, oh, parents are forcing their kids to be trans, because this literally just isn't a thing that can happen. It doesn't. It can't happen. You can't just make your kid be trans. The process that it takes to transition is really hard. Like, even for adults, like, I know trans people that are, like, in their 20s or 30s that are struggling to get hormones because of, like, the time limits that are put on how long you have to identify as trans in order to get, like, your hands on HRT, how long it takes to be able to get your hands on surgery, the cost of getting surgery and HRT. There is just so much that stands in your way to do that. It's not as simple as just, oh, like, you see your kid playing with other girls and you're maybe they like to wear a dress from time to time. It's like, oh, okay, my kid's a trans girl, take him to the doctor and get him on female hormones. It's not that simple. It doesn't work that way. But let's watch.
This is one of them. Of course, 4-year-old children do not have the cognitive ability to decide what's right for themselves. I mean,
okay.
Does that go without saying?
Well, I'm wondering, is he going to read this article? Oh, he does. It seems like he does read this article. Where's the source? I'd actually love to see the source. Telegraph? Ooh, Telegraph. Of course it is. Oof. Gotta love the right-wing biased articles. Either way, he looks like he's going to be reading it as we do this, so let's just hop right into it.
For most people, yes. 4-year-olds can't run the country. 4-year-olds can't decide for themselves what is best for them.
Okay, cool.
Right?
Sure. Oh, got him.
This is something that I have to really...
This guy's very cringy. This is a non-argument so far. No child can just say, oh, I'm trans, and then pursue a transition. Doesn't work that way. If you're going to transition, you have to see a medical professional. It is the discretion of said medical professionals whether or not they believe that there is legitimacy in the in the decision or the belief that a child is trans. It's not a kid thinking they are trans. It's not what's happening. But okay, let's continue. Yes, there's a lot of dumb arguments that are going to be made. We'll get to all of them, but let's continue.
Really explain to people? Well, apparently the parents of Rudy, a.k.a. Ruby the girl, they are...
Is this guy... Okay, I know this guy is insane, but it sounds like... And listen, I don't want to... I'm not trying to... I'm not trying to, like, ad hom here. I'm genuinely not trying to ad hom here, but we're only 55 seconds into this video, and I feel like we're listening to the insane rantings of a guy who's about to shoot up a synagogue.
Transitioning their 4-year-old son into a 4-year-old daughter, a girl. You can see here in these pictures...
Is he actually going to read the article?
That is a boy.
Is he gonna actually read it?
Now, if a 4-year-old boy wants to play with, Barbie dolls, whatever.
He's just not gonna read the article, is he?
This, that, or the other. I mean, that's whatever. And if you want to let them do that, that's fine, I guess. But I understand, like, if you're really a socially sort of liberal person, you want to let your child do that. Fine.
Is this going to be the whole video?
Go through with a transition.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Wait, you do realize that a 4-year-old can't transition, right? Like, no doctor will allow this, right? That's not how it works. Like, when we're talking about transitioning, we're usually talking about, like, physically transitioning, taking hormones, taking maybe even hormone blockers or anything like that. Socially transitioning, on the other hand, is a whole other thing. If your kid wants to wear dresses and play with girls' toys, what is the issue with that? You're saying there is no issue with it. Does this guy unironically think that these parents are going to be taking their kid in to, like, a doctor, and the doctor's going to be like, all right, well, you think your kid's trans, all right, let's go ahead and get them that HRT, let's go ahead and get them a vagina, yep, we're just doing it right now. That's not how it works. Does this guy, this fucking QAnon-believing conspiracy theorist who thinks the coronavirus is a bioweapon, is he unironically about to not even read this article and just rant for 12 minutes about how the transgender agenda has gone too far and the legions of SJW trans activists are coming to take away your child's penises? Is that what's actually coming? He's not a Q supporter? Someone in chat said he was a Q supporter. Is he not? Somebody in chat told me he was a Q supporter. Either way, this guy believes that the coronavirus is a bioweapon. He's made, like, several videos on it. All right, let's go.
And to embrace it like it's heroic. And to, like, post it all over the media and like, what are you doing? Like,
not
just
an
go
argument.
To jail. Because
is this an argument?
You're a child.
First time I get to see you live. Thanks for all the
advocate.
content, Peepo. Hug.
Thank you, 5.0, for the $5. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoyed the content. Is this an argument? Okay, hold on. I'm actually going to be upset. How many subs? This guy. Okay, this video is pretty old. It's from 2016, but this guy has 82,000 subscribers. This fucking dude has 82,000 subscribers. And that is his best argument against this. This is his thought process. Can you fucking imagine? Can you imagine how easy it is to just be fucking, just your brain to have nothing? If you could physically look inside this dude's brain to see the amount of knowledge that he has about trans issues, his expertise on this subject, there would just be nothing there but, trans people are delusional and all they do is cut off their dick and they think they're a woman, but they're not a real woman. There's only two genders. You're either born with the dick and you're a man, or you're born with a vagina and you're a woman. That is the level of just lack of knowledge, I will say, in order to avoid I'm sorry, I almost did a ableism there. You guys have been getting angry about that from me lately, so the lack of knowledge that we are dealing with here.
I'll read from this article. I'll try to make this as brief as possible.
Please do.
There isn't much to be said.
By the way, after we watch this this absolute abortion of a video, I'll go over the science and the consensus on this topic, so we can flush our brain of the absolute lack of knowledge we are being assaulted with here.
It's disgusting.
I'm sure it is.
I'm gonna read it anyway.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If your response to something, if your argument against something is just it's disgusting, you're probably not on the right side of things. Because usually, if something is bad, you're able to form a better argument than it's disgusting. Like, for example, pedophilia. Why is pedophilia bad? I mean, it's disgusting, but if your only response is it's disgusting, then you might not understand why it's bad. it's bad because it's abusing a child, and children aren't capable of consenting and understanding the repercussions of sexual actions. So, yeah, there's that. There's plenty of arguments you can give about things that are bad, then it's disgusting. It's disgusting may be true, but not a good argument usually. It's not a good argument about ethics or pragmatism. However, this guy doesn't seem to have any argument beyond it's disgusting. And holy shit, imagine if people like this were in charge of everything. Imagine if this dude had any position of power. Like, holy fuck.
Watching the Powell family in the park, there's nothing unusual about them. I'd beg to differ.
Cringe.
Parents Catherine and Mark chat, keeping a close eye on Jack, 9, and Ruby, 7. But although Ruby, in a Hello Kitty t-shirt, clutching a doll, looks like any 7-year-old girl, 2 years ago the same scene would have shown Rudy, a 5-year-old boy. Thanks to the likes of Caitlyn Jenner, oh yeah, thank God for Caitlyn Jenner, and Orange is the new...
To be fair, Caitlyn Jenner is a piece of shit, and it's very upset. I'm not happy that Caitlyn Jenner is, like, probably the only trans person that most people in America know about, because she's not exactly the best representation of trans people. But regardless, let's continue.
Black star Laverne Cox. Ironically punful name there, Laverne Cox. The term transgender has recently...
This guy has over 80,000 subscribers, by the way. Like, oh boy.
Into the mainstream. But they are adults. Yeah, that's the key sentence right there. But they, Caitlyn Jenner...
By the way, the article he's reading from is a Telegraph article. An already extremely biased right-wing outlet that is extremely anti-trans. So, you know what? Actually, I think we've probably seen enough of this video, because he's just going to read this, like, extremely biased article that is not based on any form of consensus here. So let's get into the actual science of this, of how things actually go, because I really, really want to talk about it, because I've been doing a lot of research. I've been filling my already massive brain, very high IQ intelligence. I've been raising it even more, specifically to help educate you all on this topic. I have, before you all, the legendary Vosh research document, and I have read everything down to here today. From queer people are still oppressed, to sex is complicated and not binary, trans people in sports, but most specifically, this section. Gender transition has a positive effect on trans people. Specifically, where was it? Actually, no, it was this part, I believe. No, it was here. Specifically, these articles. There has been enormous amounts of data, as you can see. This here is actually a meta-analysis. We'll go ahead and check it out. Let's read it. Let's look at the data. We conducted a systematic literature review of all peer-reviewed articles published in English between 1991 and June 2017 that assesses the effect of gender transition on transgender well-being. We identified 55 studies that consist of primary research on this topic, of which 93% found that gender transition improves the overall well-being of transgender people. Who'd have fucking thought? While 7%, which is 7%, reported mixed or null findings, and we found no studies concluding that gender transition causes overall harm. As an added resource, we separately include 17 additional studies that consist of literature reviews and practitioner guidelines. This search found a robust international consensus in the peer-reviewed literature that gender transition, including medical treatments such as hormone therapy and surgeries, improves the overall well-being of transgender individuals. The literature also indicates that greater availability of medical and social support for gender transitions contributes to better quality of life for those who identify as transgender. Okay, so right there we have from Cornell University, a school, a fucking very reputable source, a meta-analysis of dozens of studies that confirms that transitioning is the treatment for trans people. It is the treatment for gender dysphoria. Okay, cool. But what about children? Because this is specifically about children. What is the issue with children? Well, let's see. There was... where was it? Here it is. Where was it? I read through all of these earlier. Let's see. Hey, Paul Resendez, thank you for the $5.
I read an article in The Economist that claimed that children who are put on hormone blockers and sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, are at a significant risk of infertility. Is it true?
Who are put on hormone blockers and sex are significant risk of infertility. Is it true? I don't believe so. I've read through all of this and nothing like that came up. All of these sources, not a single one came up. Trans rights, by the way. Someone in chat asked me to say that. So, hold on a second. Where was it? Here it is. All right. Here it is. This is specifically pertaining to children and adolescents in school. It is from the APA.org, American Psychological Association. Let's go ahead and check it out. Sexual orientation and gender identity. Whereas some children and adolescents are aware of their attraction to members of the same gender or their status as lesbian, gay, or bisexual persons by early adolescence, and then the source for that. Although the awareness may vary by culture and acculturation, I cannot speak today. Whereas sexual orientation and gender identity are separate, but related aspects of the human experience. And then a lot of sources. Fuck, this is so hard to read because they have like these long-ass... It's almost like there is a vast amount of knowledge and data to confirm this. But excuse me while I have to skim over the sources here to be able to read this in a coherent manner. Whereas some children and adolescents may experience a long period of questioning their sexual orientations or gender identities, experiencing stress, confusion, fluidity, or complexity in their feelings and social identities. Here it is. Whereas a person's gender identity develops in early childhood, and some young children may not identify with the gender assigned to them at birth, it may be medically and therapeutically indicated for some transgender and other gender diverse and adolescents to transition from one gender to another using any of the following: change of name, pronoun, hairstyle, clothing, pubertal suppression, this is like puberty blockers and whatnot, cross-sex hormone treatment, and surgical treatment. So, this article, or this meta-analysis, I suppose, by the American Psychological Association, basically... Oh, Hunter Avalon's in chat. Oh, thank you for the $5, dude. Hey, bro, thanks for the video you posted earlier about Bennett calling me out. I appreciate the support. Hey, man, I was worried it would come off kind of weird, because, like, I made 2 videos in defense of you, and that kind of comes off as simping. I was a little self-aware in it, but yeah, I'm glad you liked the video. I'm proud of the thumbnail I made. I think it came out looking good. And, yeah, Kaylin Bennett is Kaylin Bennett is just something else. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the video, dude. It's been nice. I appreciate the $5. But yeah, so this basically backs up the validity in children, prepubescent children, transitioning socially. That does not mean taking hormones or anything. However, in the research that I have done, and this entire document, if you are interested in educating yourself on this topic, this entire document validates everything that I am about to say. If you have a child, and this is a hypothetical here because I want to try to explain this in the most coherent way possible for people that are watching. If you have a child, someone who is, let's say the child is 6 years old. That's a good age, right? And you notice, you look at them, and you notice they don't really fit in with, let's say they're a boy, right? They don't fit in with the other boys. They tend to hang out with the girls on the playground. Maybe you've walked in and you've caught them wearing their mom's jewelry and trying to put on their mom's clothes or their sister's clothes or something. There's something going on there. Now, a thought comes to your head. Okay, maybe my kid is actually a trans girl. Maybe it's a phase. You don't know. So you take them to a medical professional. And that medical professional could be a psychiatrist, anything like that, observes your child, talks to them, and comes to the conclusion that they're still pretty young, but I definitely suspect your child may have gender dysphoria. They may be a girl. And so you think, oh, okay, so what can we do about this? Well, any medical professional would say, I'm going to recommend that you let the kid do whatever they want to do. If they want to dress up as a girl, let them dress up as a girl. If they feel more comfortable being called by she, her pronouns, go ahead and do it. If they feel like a girl, treat them as a girl. And then around the time of being 10 years old, this is usually, from the research that I have done, usually around the age of 10 years old is when a doctor will say, okay, so the kid is still acting like a girl? I'm going to recommend that they get on puberty blockers. And all puberty blockers do is temporarily inhibit the release of hormones that would otherwise, also Hyena, aka Vermin, Vash's girlfriend is in chat. I still need to give you a special color for your name. What they will typically do is prescribe hormone blockers. And what hormone blockers do is temporarily inhibit the release of hormones that are typically released during the puberty of a child, or puberty of anybody, really. And this is important, specifically because if this child does end up being trans, and they do not get on hormone blockers, and they experience the puberty of the opposite gender than they really are, this can be pretty detrimental. Now, it isn't a death sentence per se, all right? It's not a death sentence, but it fucking sucks. Ask any trans person who is an adult now that is transitioning or post-transition who was not able to get on hormone blockers, and they will tell you, I really fucking wish I was on hormone blockers when I was a kid. Now, you may ask yourself, or you may be wondering, are there any side effects? Are there any downsides to hormone blockers? And this is a valid concern. It is a valid concern. I've read through Vash's entire research document. I've gone over all these sources, and the data currently shows that it is extremely rare, but there can be side effects. It is extremely rare, by the way, and these side effects are very, 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 very minor. Occasionally, it can result in a slightly decreased sex drive for a temporary amount of time that is usually fixed after a bit of time passing or the taking of the hormones that they desire. So, for example, if they're let's say they're a trans girl and they take hormones, and by the time they've been on hormones for a while, they're like, yeah, I don't really have a very strong sex drive. Usually, that sex drive comes right back as soon as they get on estrogen, almost immediately. That's what the data I found shows. There is literally no downsides that are tangible or significant. For example, you may wonder, and they can be reversed. That is true. Such as things like the lack of bone density and whatnot. Usually what's been shown to happen is that, let's say a fluke happens. Let's say, worst case scenario, the child is on hormone blockers for years. Let's say at 6 years old, they get on hormone blockers, and at 10, they're like, actually, no, I'm a dude. I'm not actually trans. I think it was just a phase. I'm a dude. I don't actually want to be a girl. Take them off the hormone blockers, and what happens? Within a little delayed, but for the most part, they end up going through the male puberty, and everything goes as it would have otherwise. Their bone density goes up just as they would if they hadn't been on hormone blockers. They just end up being a bit of a late bloomer. That's what the data has pointed to. And for the people concerned about sexual transition, getting surgeries and whatnot, it doesn't happen. In order for someone to transition and have bottom surgery or top surgery, you kind of need a doctor to do it. And unless you're flying to some third world country to pay a doctor to do a surgery on your kid, no doctor is going to perform sexual reassignment surgery on an 8-year-old. This isn't a thing that happens. This video specifically was to go over a lot of at least 18. Well, at least 18. But even for, and I should really hammer this home because it's important. Even if you are in your 20s, your 30s, or your 40s, it can be a pain in the ass to transition. I believe that you have to be socially transitioning and identifying as trans for months before they'll even put you on hormone replacement therapy. And not only that, there's a bunny hopping around outside my window right now. I can hear it. That or it's a squirrel, but I'm pretty sure it's a bunny. Okay. Like, even for adults, this happens and is common. Yeah. Oh, wait a second. Hunter Avalon said, also, since you're on the subject of trans kids, did you see Paul Joseph Watson smear me today for saying puberty blockers are safe for kids? Of course he did. Yeah. They just can't handle it. Conservatives triggered. But yeah, even for adults, this is difficult. There is no scenario that I've seen, and I see lots of videos by reactionaries talking about this, where they'll bring up some scenario where some parents are supposedly forcing their kids into transitioning. But if you look at any source that isn't Telegraph or, let's say, Breitbart or InfoWars, if you actually look at a more center-leaning, less biased news source, or just look at the source itself and see interviews from the kid or from the parents, it turns out that it is not abusive parents pressuring their kids into transitioning. The kid or child or parents are very much aware of what is going on, and there's no child abuse happening or anything. I'm sorry. I could rant about this for a while, but I feel very, very upset, honestly, that there are so many massive figures out there that know nothing about this topic. Sargon literally thought that puberty blockers were chemical castration and was shocked to be taught otherwise, so some people might be propagandized like that. Exactly. It's exactly what I was talking about. It's infuriating to me that massive figures who have massive audiences that have no fucking idea what they're talking about are able to push this just anti-intellectual, based in no amount of research, ideas in their audience's mind. People like Sargon, people like Paul Joseph Watson, people like Joe Rogan, who host the most popular podcast, I believe, in the world. Am I wrong in this? I know at some point Joe Rogan's podcast was the most popular in the world. The fact that the idea that there are, like, kids that their parents are forcing to transition is, like, a thing that's happening is, like, a very a widespread idea, and it's infuriating because it's so easy to debunk if you can reach that audience. My goal is to one day be big enough that I can go on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I will bring a binder, and I will disprove every popular transphobic belief with facts and logic. That was fun. That was a fun rant.